Hi, welcome to the Cybersecurity Journal. Today we're going to talk about passwords and MFA, multi-factor authentication. In the world of security, there's a concept or a basic structure that we follow, and it's a three-pronged approach when it comes to the individual protecting their access to a system. The three pieces of that are: one is something you know, and in the world of security, that something you know is a password. We then go on to the second one, which is something you have. In the older days of IT, before smartphones were really a thing, they used what was called a token, and it was this little device that you could connect to a keychain or carry in your pocket, whatever it was, and it had a rolling code on it. It was typically 6 digits long, 6 numbers, and it was random, but you had to send that token back into your IT department and get a new one like every 6 months or something, because it had a finite number of numbers that it could generate, and it generates a number every 10 seconds or 15 seconds, whatever it was, whether you were using it or not. It's just constantly rotating numbers. And so you would put in a password for the something you know, and then it would prompt you for a code, which is the something you have. Once smartphones really started coming out and coming into existence, then there was SMS or text, and now a machine, an application could send you a text from a phone number, and that phone number would provide you the 6-digit PIN. Another option that came around at that time was email. They'd also email you that code. The third aspect that we use is something you are, and that refers to our biometrics. In today's day and age of all smartphones, you either have a fingerprint that you set up, or you use your Face ID or eyes. You can even use voice recognition. These are all biometrics, which is something that you are. It's a bit harder to, hack that. Much like it's pretty easy to hack somebody's password if they're not doing it well. And we'll get into password complexity here in a bit. Or they can hack your phone or your text or your email. They could even lift your little key fob off of you with your token codes. So even the something you have is a little bit, has the potential of being hacked. But something you are is much more difficult. Today, we do have AI deepfake, as we call it, which is able to scrape your voice from an online presence or a conversation over a phone call, and then they can take that voice and use it in, some kind of a vocal attack. It's not used so much, voice audio is not used as much for an MFA factor as something more like your face, your eyes, or your fingerprints. Those are much, much harder to do. Now, of course, in the movies, we all see that, you handle a glass and then you can use a little tape and you can pull it off and do that. It is possible, but it's not quite as common unless the attacker knows exactly what kind of system you have access to and they really want it, and they're really pinpointing you for a specific attack. So if you're hearing other point of views on, the Face ID is really easy to hack, or the thumbprint or fingerprint, things like that, I wouldn't put that much, suspicion or paranoia into it, because it's fairly difficult, and people would really need to want to get to your stuff in order to, try to hack you that way, let's say. When it comes to using our passwords, back on the something you know, everybody uses words and characters that mean something to them. Names of dogs, names of kids, names of places that they grew up, places that are their favorite place to be, dates of kids being born or their birthday or their dog being adopted or passing away, things like that. And those are what's really easy to hack. And not from a hacker going at it with a word list necessarily, just randomly, but people don't really hide some of that information. They'll put out on the internet, on social media, the names of their dogs, their kids, birth dates. You talk with a lot of people, people can overhear conversations if you're talking about things. And hackers can take that information and collate it together with all kinds of different pieces of information. They can pick out patterns. And if they hear that you're talking about your dog Lucy that you just love to death, there's a very good chance that you're using Lucy in your password. Well, they can take that and plug it into a word generator that's going to create a password list for them to try to hack. And they're also going to listen to dates. You might say, oh yeah, I got her in 2011. And you know, she's just been the greatest thing ever since. And 2011 was just a really rough year for me. So she brought a lot of light into my life and everything. That is great, and it's fine to be telling people that, but don't put that information then into your password, because people are going to be able to pick up that pattern. And if somebody is just trying to get money out of people or create some kind of maybe reputational damage, they're going to use that kind of information against you. The way to combat that is to use very complex passwords. Now, I know where you're going. You're going to think, yeah, but you know, in these days of 7, 8 characters or even 14 characters, you got to have uppercase and lowercase and numbers and symbols, but not every system takes this symbol, and it's just too much to handle. So I have to write it down on a sticky note and stick it under my keyboard just so I can remember it. I get it. Passwords are a challenge, but passwords are, in today's current technology, our first line of defense for authentication. It's still the go-to standard. MFA, which we'll get into next, is coming along better, and there's a third type that's coming along even after that called a passkey, which we'll discuss later as well. But passwords are still there, and they're not going away really anytime soon, which means that you really need to pay attention to the passwords that you are creating. There is hope for you. There is a multitude of applications out there that are called password vaults, encrypted password vaults. I am not endorsed by any of these, so the names that I'm throwing out are just ones that I know about. And the one that I and my family use is called 1Password. There are other options like Keeper, KeePass. Many of these security providers, the Nortons, the Bitdefenders, the Malwarebytes, these names that are out there for security suites are also including some kind of a password vault in their offerings now. It might be part of a tiered program, and you have to pay up to get the tier that has that. But the password vault is a phenomenal product that can help you as the user, especially having passwords for all of your different bank accounts and maybe your medical onlines and all these different things, to be able to create extremely complex passwords and not have to worry about memorizing them. It stores it for you in an encrypted database that you can access using one of the methods that we talked about earlier. Biometrics is one of the big one, the something you are, especially on phones. So like 1Password on my phone unlocks with my facial recognition that I've set up on the phone. But it has a backup that every 2 weeks, every 14 days, it still requires me to put my password in. you're sitting here thinking, no, but you just said that, this thing takes care of all these passwords. You don't have to think about it. Well, there's one password that you need to know. And that password needs to be fairly complex. And in today's day and age, we professionals are starting to recommend 20 characters as a minimum, which I know a lot of people think, wow, that's a lot. But there's some tips and tricks that I'll give you that can help with that. Using this one password to unlock it every 14 days or so. The rest of the time, the next 2 weeks, it uses your facial ID. And so you can pull your phone out, look at it, search for whatever you're going for, copy the password right out of it, do whatever you need to do. Well, it gets even better. You can sync that same application, in my case, again, one password, across to your computers. It can be a Mac, it can be a PC, it can be an Android, it can be an iPhone, an iPad. It works on multiple different operating systems, and it will sync that database across all those different devices. Second to that, with that application existing on your computer, it will also provide you a plugin or an extension for your web browser, and it supports all the web browsers, the Safaris, the Edge, the Chrome, Brave, Firefox, you name it, they pretty much have it. And what it does is it ties into that database, that encrypted database, and it will automatically fill those fields in for you in the web browser. The second best part about that is if you're at a site and you're creating a new account, it will pop up with a suggested random password and say, hey, I recommend you use this password for this new account that you're setting up. And you click on it and it pops up a little screen and you give it a title for, the name of what that site is. It puts in the username for you. It even will save your web link, the web URL that you're signing up for or at, and then this complex password. And you can set those defaults in your main application, whether on your phone or computer, it doesn't matter. But inside the actual application, you can set the defaults and say, I want a minimum of 20 characters or 24 characters. I want to require uppercase and lowercase. I want to require special characters, things like that. There are times that it will recommend a password and you let it put it in there, you hit next, and then the system, the application, or the website you're on will say, you have an invalid character. That is a challenge, but you can get around it by then editing that record, and you can view the password, and if they're good developers, they're going to tell you what special characters are or are not allowed. I've run across many websites, though, where the developers don't give you any hint. They just say, sorry, you're out of luck, you can't use this special character. And it's like, okay, which one? I've got 6 of them in this password. There are a list of more common special characters that aren't allowed than others. For example, the question mark, the colon, the semicolon, sometimes the caret, like a shift 6, are some of those characters that it doesn't really like. And the reason for that is because some of those are programming characters that are used in application development and can be shown as a risk to the application if somebody were to try to hack in and send a specific command through that or something, which can be done. We call it a SQL injection attack or an application code attack. That's why they don't allow some of those characters, but they should really be telling the end user that they're not allowed. So anyways, you can go into that edited record, you can change the password, remove some characters, put some different ones in, do whatever you want, save it, and then paste that back in, and if it accepts it, move on. You've still got a very complex password saved for that site. And now every time you go back to that site, it's automatically going to pull that in. Many web browsers offer their own encrypted password databases. They're not nearly as secure as using a third-party app that is made for that. Yes, they're okay and they work, and you can still, decrypt them and export all of your passwords and everything, but that's partly the risk. You can decrypt that password and save it as a CSV file, comma separated values like password, password, and it'll just dump it to a file for you that now you can see in plain text. You can do that with these third-party encrypted apps, but it's a little bit more, there's more checks in place for you to be able to do that. So it's providing you a better level of security using the extensions from a third-party app that you're paying for that's getting these different updates. It's got security in mind versus web browsers that are there to serve up, websites. And in today's day and age, there's a lot of programming languages on those websites. So it's easier for hackers to try to get to your web browser database, encrypted database passwords than it is a third party. Not saying it can't be done, just these are the recommendations and tips and things that I've learned over the years in order to do. So this password vault can do all kinds of things. It doesn't just have to save passwords for applications or logins or things. You can save pictures in there that are really important to you, or pictures of, let's say, your passport. You can save your social security numbers in there. You can save documents and things that are important to you that you need to have. Let's say a natural disaster hits. Where I live, fires are common, not necessarily right around my place. We more get smoke, but we do get fires. And if I've got to get out of my house really quickly, I may not have time to grab stuff out of my safe, all of that protected data in there. So if I have a record of it in my encrypted database, then I've still got a copy of it should something happen and I need it. I can say, look, I had a fire, I lost all the documents, but they're all right here. So I really like to preach using these password vaults, and I recommend that you spend some time looking at some of the different options. Do your own sleuthing. Look for ones that appeal to you. It might have a different UI that you prefer over another one. But at the end of the day, they're all going to have a lot of the same security measures built in. And so, find the one that works for you. I am always more than happy to help people individually with it. And all you'd have to do is shoot a post on or a comment on the video and let me know, hey, I'm curious about this, and we can find a way to DM with each other or text. And more than happy to help you with further questions or help you get something set up. When I get into the security suite parts of computers, I'll kind of revisit this because again, there are a lot of companies out there like the Nortons, the Malwarebytes, the Bitdefenders, that Proton has one as well. Where they include these things. So if you're looking for kind of an all-in-one suite, you may want to look at that instead of paying for that and paying for a separate solution like a 1Pass. I had 1Pass before I had any of those offerings, and I've had it for many years. So my family, we've got it all integrated. I can share it with my wife, and we don't have to worry about that. One last thing about the password vaults that I really like. In the one that I use and many others, you can also create different vaults or security stores to hold passwords in, and then you can share it. So you could actually set up an account for, I'm talking to kind of the younger generation now, maybe helping your parents out that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, that still have online presence and bank accounts and things. You can set up, especially if you get like a family plan, you can set up a vault for them, and you can create records for them in it that you can help protect and support them with if you're helping them in these certain financial ways. But they still have access to it, but they don't have access to all of your credentials, the ones that are saved in your own personal vault. So it's a really good way to extend this to your family and help them. You can also I was just talking to some folks last night. Kids are starting to get online these days, right? And so maybe your teens have accounts and you need to, as a parent, be able to help see them, control them, log into them. And so you can also create vaults that you share with your kids that are separate from everything. But then they have their own secured method of it. And so you're starting to implement this security mindset into them at a young age, which is very critical for the day and age that we are in. So I know that's a lot of information, but I hope that it was helpful to understand one of the best things that you can do to protect yourself online. The more that you use something like this, the easier it is, the faster it becomes, and the more natural it becomes to you to integrate these into your life. So I'll hope that you got something out of this, and obviously, like I said before, drop something in the comments if you would like to chat more about this, and we'll figure out a way to get in contact. Cheers.